DFS Show with Jon Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FA Nation? Jon Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Show. We are here for Thursday's 7-game main slate. James, you had the playbook here today. 7 p.m. start time, 10 p.m. is our late night hammer. A couple games in that 10 p.m. window this evening. Some fun matchups. How we feel about everything here, man?
Feel pretty good. It's a fun slate. Already got a lot of injury news out of the way for today. Learned that Karl-Anthony Towns is torn meniscus. Who knows if he's out for a long period or not, because Shams and Woj just constantly battle on reporting. So we'll see if Towns misses extended time, but he will be out tonight. And yeah, I mean, the only two truly, unless there's something else that breaks from now until lock, the only things we're waiting on is Jaylen Brown, Lonnie Walker, and Ochai Agbaji. Those are the literal 3 questionable tags on the slate that we don't know. Brown said he's a game time decision. That is unfortunately 10 p.m. game, so we won't know. The Lonnie Walker downgrade. So Lonnie Walker came into these last few games with an ankle. Now has an illness and an ankle. So he's questionable with the midday illness downgrade. And then Agbaji's been on the injury report. So we've gotten most of what we need from whether that was last night or tonight. We don't have a lot of back-to-backs, which is good. And usually an indication, unless there's something random like an illness popping up, that there isn't going to be a lot of shape-shifting of the slate. So everything seems pretty straightforward with what we have, other than what Boston looks like by the end of the night, what Toronto looks like, and who the hell is actually playing for Brooklyn, because half their team's out.
At least that game is a 7 p.m. lock for the Brooklyn Nets. And I felt like this way yesterday, too. I said to you when I came on the show, I'm like, dude, I kind of feel like this slate is kind of straightforward. We had some questionable players. We kind of knew and had a feeling of where we were going. Then when you and I did the preview show this morning, we kind of had the same feeling going through the positions where we wanted to go at some of our lineups. Could have way more value available to us depending on how Brooklyn does turn out here. But Brooklyn, Detroit's getting 2.5, 216. Minnesota, Indiana's giving 228.5 there. Miami, Dallas giving 4.5, 229. Toronto, Phoenix giving 10.5, 233.5. Boston, Denver's now giving 1. That's a 220.5 total. Chicago, Golden State giving 8, 223. San Antonio, Sacramento Kings are giving 11, 235 total there. Highest rostered player on the slate, no real surprise there. Zach Collins here tonight. We'll talk about center as we go across, but save the suspense. Everybody kind of knew where we were going with the center position as it is. We appreciate you all tuning in here today. If you haven't already, toss a like down and do so. Get in the comment section. James and I are here to help you guys out here with your lineups and roster builds this evening. Starting things off, point guard position, Luka Doncic, 12-2. You and I had some fun last night, building some lineups, just jamming in as much value as we could to get a Stars and Scrub lineup. And when it was all said and done, we sat there, we're like, you know what? I'm liking the way this one's looking here. So Luka is 12-2. No problems getting to him whatsoever. Curry, Halliburton, really great price for Halliburton at $8,800. De'Aaron Fox is the cover of today's live stream, 85. Quickly, 84. Kobe White, 8K. That's your top 5 or 6 price guards today.
Too bad we didn't have De'Aaron Fox on last night's cover when he tied his career high of 44. Actually,
we talked enough De'Aaron Fox on the show. People asked, "What are you going to do the late game slate?" They're like, Sabonis, LeBron. It's like, no, play Fox and LeBron. LeBron is the stack you want. There was a time where the Lakers cut that game down to 6, I want to say, and then Fox went on an 8-0 run by himself. You just took that game over. So
yeah, he's quite good. So it is interesting anytime you get a Luka slate. And you don't see him as the highest rostered player of the slate. He's about 10th upon latest update. Hey, anytime there's any leverage with Luka, I'm in. I told you that when they faced Boston and they lost by 20. You know what he did in that game? He scored 70 fantasy points.
Right.
Because that's what he does. He's just bigger, stronger, better. I won't say faster because he's clearly not faster than everyone else, but he's bigger, faster, and better than everyone he plays. This is no different. Miami's actually now, John, and we were talking about how bad their defense was. They're 8th in the NBA in defensive rating. They have completely shifted their season. Obviously, having Jimmy on the floor every night, having Bam on the floor every night, getting Terry Rozier, who's a pretty good perimeter defender, like that helps. Like that, those things help. But like, another matchup where on paper tough, but on paper Luka's playing 40 minutes, and on
Right.
paper Luka's always live to take 30 shots, and on paper he has 4 straight triple doubles. So if you want to get to Luka, by all means,
8th in defensive rating doesn't mean much when you're playing the elites of the elites. So
yeah, and if his ownership were to hold at 19%, that's leverage, right?
Yeah.
That's leverage on Luka Doncic. So
Coach Chris, happy to have you in there with us here today.
Just for a couple more days, because Chris is I believe Chris is a North Carolina resident, and they go live in
a couple days.
Couple days on Monday. So I believe Coach Chris will only be with us for a few more days.
Hey, we can talk some betting picks with him there as well.
Yeah. Not really interested in Steph at 9K. Obviously, you can get there if you want in tournaments.
Facing the team that gives up a bajillion threes. So
right. So bajillion threes is definitely on the cards for Steph Curry. But second leg of a back-to-back, Tyrese Halliburton. Look, Indiana's favored in that game, right? Like, whether it's a really tough spot for Minnesota and, like, they still have Rudy Gobert anchoring their defense. They still have Jaden McDaniels, who probably you'll see at times on, like, Siakam, probably on Halliburton. Edwards will guard Halliburton, I'm sure. Halliburton's too cheap. We talked about it last night. He's definitely in playing tournaments. Kyrie's fine. De'Aaron Fox coming off what he tied his career high with 44 actual. He's now gone for 50 in 6 of his 50 plus DraftKings points in 6 of his last 7 games. It's a great spot against San Antonio. It's just all about San Antonio keeping close. But like Sacramento, a lot of times plays down to their opponents, right? We've seen that time and time again. Also, no lead is safe with Sacramento, no matter who the opponent is. So, like,
they got up to like a 22-point lead, I think, at one point early in the third quarter there, and then the Lakers went on a run and cut it down into single digits. Eventually, ended up being a 10-point win for the Kings there. But I mean, there was definitely some moments there where they were almost blowing another big one like they did against Phoenix.
Dude, the Kings are just like, they're hilarious because they smacked the Clippers and then 2 games later lost to the Bulls at home after the Bulls lost to the Pistons.
Yeah.
And then they go into LA and they smack they smack the Lakers around. It's just, they're just the most inconsistent team. De'Aaron Fox has not been inconsistent lately. Emmanuel Quickly, another guy who has not been inconsistent. If you want to get there, fine for tournaments. And same thing for Kobe White, fine for tournaments. Big minutes, big shot attempts, really good from the field lately. And that had been kind of eluding him lately.
Yep. One of the highest rostered players on the slate. Again, San Antonio getting a ton of rostership because no Wemby. That's Devin Vassell here. $7,300 going up against Sacramento. We just talked about how bad defensively they are. And this dude playing all the minutes. So $7,300 for Devin Vassell, certainly a core play.
Yeah. 37 plus DraftKings points in 6 of his last 7. And he's hit 50 in 2 of those games. Without Wemby this year, 26% usage, 1.08 fantasy points per minute. So no problem getting to Vassell. Fortunately for us, you can play him at either guard spot. So you have 4 available spots to play Devin Vassell tonight, because you're going to want exposure to the Spurs. They're incredibly popular, and also like
they have 4 of the top 6 ownerships here.
Yeah, and again. It's hard. I think it's going to be hard for them to really like stay very competitive because they've had a difference maker on the defensive end. They were the worst defensive team in basketball when they were running that Wemby Collins 4-5. And then they were like, well, we don't need to do this. We could just play Wemby at the 5, and everything changed. Where then on one hand, I'm definitely good with getting to Vassell. On other hands, if you're playing multiple lineups, it's like, okay, half my lineups are going to have plenty of Spurs. And I would say like 25% I'm stacking the Spurs. And then a small percentage of it is like, maybe I just fade the Spurs or just play one of the cheaper options, like a Zach Collins, who probably gets there regardless. Because like it'll be most difficult for Vassell to get there at 5X if he doesn't play a fourth quarter because he's 7,300. That's the only thing I'd say.
Yeah, I agree with you. The Prince FanDuel wants to know Fox or Halliburton. Halliburton's cheaper. What are your thoughts between Halliburton and Fox tonight?
I mean, like it's $200 difference. That's not like the discrepancy.
Sometimes that matters. I guess the Prince. What's your lineup look like, man? If you need the extra money, sure, Halliburton. But
Yeah,
you talk glowingly about De'Aaron Fox here today.
I wrote Fox up. I didn't write Halliburton up. Not to say I don't like Halliburton, but I wrote Fox up in the core play section. I did not write Halliburton. And you're a subscriber to fansalarm.com. The Prince, you can read the playbook and get my answer right there.
Yeah. Where are you with Cade? Cade $7,600. We talked about that being too cheap. Brooklyn's defense tonight at the guard positions. They might have Dennis Smith Jr. and Dennis Schroeder out there together. Like there's no defense being played there. So
yeah, I am very high on Cade. 7,600 is too cheap. 40 plus DraftKings points in 6 of 7 since the All-Star break. 49 DraftKings points per game against Brooklyn this year. And on the year, 30% usage, 1.2 fantasy points per minute, both lead the team. Like the only thing I had to say about Cade was the minutes. And then he said, nah, bro, I'm playing all the minutes. And then like even to the Monty Williams point, they only played 9 players last game. Like this is a guy who's been playing 10 to 12 guys nightly. No, that did not happen. Like they've shrunken their rotation. And I think that's because like Cade's healthy, Isaiah Stewart's healthy, like Jalen Duren's like they're just healthy and they want to be better than Washington.
They also have to figure out like what are we doing next year, right? We got to see who can play and things like that, right?
Agreed.
We stopped giving Evan Fournier 25 minutes, right? Like doesn't need to happen.
Does not need
to happen here. All right, working our way down. Dennis Schroeder is your cover of your playbook today. $6,100. We were already locking him in yesterday, anyways. Now you got the Ben Simmons out for the year. No Cam Johnson, no Cam Thomas. I mean, they got nobody active for them pretty much here today. Schroeder 61.
Dude, he is with all these guys out, including the guys that have been dealt or no longer on the team. He's been a 1.2 fantasy point per minute guy since arriving, which that's elite at a 6K price tag. And it's a great matchup, conversely, for a team with no Simmons, no Thomas, no Johnson, no Sharp, possibly no Lonnie Walker, right? Like that's 6 guys that play minutes in their everyday lineup. So yeah, Dennis Schroeder, typically not a guy that would make a cover of a playbook, but for a shorthanded Brooklyn team, not on a back-to-back, not coached by Jock Vaughn against the Detroit Pistons, I'm good getting there.
Yeah, dude, 100% in agreement with you on that one. Any other value point guards for you here tonight?
I mean, Trey Jones is interesting. He gets the biggest usage bump with Wemby off the floor. Obviously, 2 down games in a row. Malachi Branham has helped or has hurt the Trey Jones experience. But I'd be willing to get there. He's really cheap on both FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good spot for the Spurs, which is why I do think they could keep this game competitive. Sacramento won the second leg of a back-to-back after a big win on the road. Now they have to face a Wemby-less Spurs. Like that could just be a situation that you're looking past, right? Like we've seen this time and time again this year with like the letdown spot for good teams against bad teams, and it's competitive. So Trey Jones 53. I think if that game's competitive, if Lonnie Walker's out, I have a lot of interest in Dennis Smith Jr. at $4,300. Like we saw some overlap last game between Schroeder and Dennis Smith to begin with, just given how shorthanded they are. And I know you messaged me the Jacob Gilyard thing. I know they signed Jacob Gilyard. And maybe we would in that like maybe if and when Lonnie Walker is ruled out, and possibly we see Jacob Gilyard, there's a chance. But I don't think there would be any chance he like usurped Smith or even took minutes away from Dennis Smith.
Right.
Because I think they'll just simply play Schroeder and Dennis Smith together. I mean, we've seen Dennis Schroeder play alongside point guards like for the last few years. Like he's playing in the Lakers. They didn't really need him. They had LeBron. No. He was playing in Boston. What did they need him on the floor when they had who they had? He was playing in Toronto with like 3 point guards on the team.
Yeah.
So like Dennis Schroeder is fine off or on the ball, and Dennis Smith, is an athletic guard that can probably not have an issue guarding Jaden Ivey all that much if that was the matchup. So Dennis Smith 43. If we found out the Lonnie, we'll when we find out the Lonnie Walker news, since we'll know it with the 7 p.m. game.
Yep. And the last guard you and I talked about last night, he's got point guard shooting guard eligibility, Ben Shepherd here. Over 20 minutes the last 2 games. No Ben Matherin, 21, 24 fantasy points. Been super efficient, obviously shooting the basketball. Not a ton of volume here, but he's making the shots. $3,200. We talked about going stars and scrubs here tonight. Is he in your player pool today?
He is absolutely my player pool. No Ben Matherin. Rick Carlisle has come out and basically said, like, dude, this guy is in the rotation. Like, whether people are in or out, I mean, he's playing. And I think the best example was the Dallas game. They were fully healthy. Like, they had Matherin in that game. They had Neesmith in that game. They had everyone, McConnell, Nembhard, all those dudes were playing. And Ben Shepherd played 22 minutes. The blowout didn't happen. Indiana put their starters back in with like 7-8 minutes in that game. So it's not like this was like Ben Shepherd get out there and just play in blowouts. Like he was just playing well, and Carlisle kept him out there. I think he's been good in a lot of different places. He has one good rebound game. He has a good assist game. He's been pretty consistent stealing the basketball. And as you mentioned, super good for 3. Is that sustainable? I don't know. He's shooting 36% on the year from 3.
Right.
So, like, but maybe that also has to do with, well, this is a rookie and is now finally getting opportunity, right? And getting in a rhythm. And now in the games where he's getting opportunities, he's seizing them. So I think Ben Shepherd is like live to play 20s into the 20s in minutes. And it's not the best spot. Obviously, Minnesota's a good defensive team, but you're going to see Kyle Anderson guarding him at times, right? Where like he's just standing in a corner and you're looking to use Kyle Anderson and help for like Halliburton drives and Siakam drives. So like I like the Shepherd 3,200 play. It's not like every lineup I'm playing Ben Shepherd, but I would, if I'm playing multiple lineups, like I'd have a decent amount of Shepherd. I think he's the perfect correlation for Luka. Like if you're playing Luka, it's the perfect correlation.
Helps and get him in the lineup. Coach Chris wants to know if Lonnie Walker's in, are we still playing him? Obviously, Keontae George was sick the other night. Played like 6 minutes, and then that was it.
I think with the George thing, we probably should have saw it coming because he was like still a game time decision. I would like, if we're like getting close to lock and Lonnie Walker's like still a game time decision, I'm probably a little scared. And if he's active and doesn't start and like Jalen Wilson started over him, I would also be a little scared. I'm okay with it if he's active, but obviously like you do have to keep that in the back of your mind that, you know, he's sick. So if he doesn't feel good during a game. Now, what extent? We don't have, you know, we're not in the locker room. We don't know what the extent of the illness is, but if, you know, that could obviously hurt if he.
Agreed. Shooting guard here, Anthony Edwards is 8,800. We talked a lot about it last night. One of our core plays for today. No Karl-Anthony Towns. Big spot here against the Pacers. A lot of things tracking towards Anthony Edwards having himself a ceiling potential game here at under 9K. Can definitely lock him in. After that, I mean, listen, we've been let down by Mikal Bridges a few times lately, but they don't have shooters left, right? Like, I expect a 20-shot game and not a 12-shot game here, I think, against the Detroit Pistons tonight. No?
Yeah, Bridges is one of the more frustrating rosters, I would say, for us on a regular basis. But it's a great spot. He's going to play 40 minutes. Like he look at it. I mean,
they don't have other guys. Like the other day, it was like, all right, well, Cam Johnson took a bunch of shots and kind of took it away. He's not there anymore, right? They don't have who is taking these shots away from Mikal? Dorian Finney-Smith? Like, who's taking the shots away? Shooter's already taken 14, 15 shots. Like,
I know.
There has to be another 8 shots that Mikal Bridges just gets force-fed, given the lineup they're going to put out there. If there's, like, Lonnie Walker the other day took shots away. Lonnie Walker had a big game. If Lonnie Walker's not there, and everybody else is out, how does Mikal Bridges not just take 25 shots in this game?
Yeah, I would say I don't love the ownership because anytime you start talking about like Mikal Bridges over 20%, I think it's a little scary because again, it has been a very inconsistent year for Mikal Bridges in terms of like he's averaging 21, 5, and 4 and a steal. Like that's on the surface, that's great, but like from a fantasy perspective, it's been super inconsistent. He went from
you have a
14 of
54
20.
here,
Right. I mean,
around 30s. So.
Dude, he had 38 actual, and like the 2 games after, he hasn't equaled 38, like combined for 38 actual. In games that Cam Thomas hasn't played in either of those. Simmons hasn't played in either of those. I know Cam Johnson played in one and a half, but yeah, I mean, I'm definitely more intrigued, and I know it's like a very minuscule thing with Lonnie Walker. I'm more interested if Walker sits because he is just going to be required to take 30 shots in this game. Um, I'm just, and it's also a better price. He's starting to get up near 8K. Now he's back down to 71. Good position eligibility. I really shouldn't have an issue with Mikal Bridges. He made my player grid. He did not make my core plays, but that could obviously change from now until Russell.
For me, I think it's just the volume of shots just have to. If he comes out of this game and they have no Lonnie Walker, no Cam Thomas, no Cam Johnson, and he takes 13 shots, I need to see the box score. Like what happened, right? Like that just doesn't make any sense to me. So he's there at $7,100. Bradley Beal without Devin Booker at $6,900 feels like a pretty good spot going up against Toronto there. And then after that, we kind of talked about some of the guys we've already discussed. Grayson Allen had a huge night the other night. I like Grayson Allen, but is he going to be able to repeat that kind of performance? It happens every so often, but I'm probably gonna bet against it. Duncan Robinson is someone that I'm definitely in on here tonight at 58. I like Butler and Robinson a lot here tonight. And then you go down, right? KCP, someone you've been high on. I'm willing to go back to the Grady Dickwell if Agbaji ends up being ruled out here. Even if Jordan Noir is the one who starts, right? Like I think he played 27 minutes the other day. He's going to be in for playing time. Hopefully he hits more shots. D. Smith is kind of interesting, I think, with no Mathurin, depending on how that lineup shakes out. I mean, what else are you looking at shooting guard?
Honestly, nothing else really. I too prefer Duncan Robinson to like Terry Rozier. Yeah. It's not a big difference in ownership. Like no one other than Jimmy Butler was really getting much love over there, but Rozier was 2x Duncan Robinson's ownership. Why? Like Terry Rozier has been a slightly better fantasy producer lately, but slightly better. He's also $800 more with worse positional eligibility. Like they're playing the same minutes. Duncan Robinson, shooting guard, small forward. Terry Rozier, point guard, shooting guard. So check in Duncan Robinson's direction. They've both consistently been over 30 fantasy points, which provides value for Robinson. Doesn't provide value for Rozier at 6,600. So I too like Robinson, and this is one of those rare spots. Dallas is top 10 in pace, bottom 10 in defense. Like you don't find that very often. I was surprised to see the Heat not getting a lot of ownership outside of Jimmy, but I think there's 3 guys I'm really keying in on, and on Miami, and Duncan Robinson.
Mathurin to miss the next week for the Pacers. So a little update there. See if we got any more Pacers news.
We're gonna shepherd in a new look here, John.
Ooh, I like it. I got nobody else down here. I guess it all depends on starting lineups. If some guys are in around me, if like any W find a way into a starting lineup, or Brandon started for whatever reason, like
and
maybe
Lonnie.
Yeah, if Lonnie, something like that, then maybe we'd give it a look. But everything else you said, I'm kind of fully on board with. Small forward here. Again, the Tatum thing is interesting because if like Jaylen Brown is out, I think Jason Tatum is certainly appealing. We've talked about that kind of before, $9,500. But you and I, again, our plugs last night, we just went Edwards Butler. No. We're like, let's just move forward here. Yep. I know our guy Anthony, I don't know if he's creeping in chat or not, but I saw his comments, asking about DeRozan. Yeah, like if you want to go DeRozan, that's fine. But Butler's $100 more, and he's been giving you far greater production in a better matchup here tonight. So yep. I'm liking me some Jimmy Butler a lot here.
Yeah, same. Really, the only thing DeRozan has on Butler is the ability to play small forward, power forward.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's like basically Butler across the board. Like, and the minutes, DeRozan's minutes are probably like 1 to 2 more per game than Butler, who's played 37, 36, 40. DeRozan's like basically played 40 every night. I think he leads the league in minutes too, which is crazy because like DeMar DeRozan has been in the NBA for a while. Yeah, Jimmy top again. We just said it with Duncan. Top 10 team in pace, Dallas is, and they're a bottom 10 defense.
Yep.
Jimmy is in play. This is playoff Jimmy. Like I think the Fall Out Boy video was just the like, hey, we're gonna drop this video and good luck stopping me now. Like,
Right.
49 plus fantasy points in 6 of his last 7 games, all the minutes. There's nobody stopping Jimmy Butler right now. So I'm okay getting to DeMar DeRozan. He's in the player grid. But Jimmy Butler is a core play. I found it interesting that he was only 13% rostered because like that might change. That update came at 2:30. We haven't gotten anything new from our provider that I have seen.
Nope, still nothing.
But like I just kind of find that interesting that he's like so low owned considering what we're getting. Is that
we'll happily take a low roster Jimmy Butler
Agreed.
here.
Agreed. I don't know if I buy it though. I don't know if I buy it is more what I'm saying. Like, I'm a little skeptical he's only going to be 13% roster.
Yeah, I mean honestly, we do guys we like, but Anthony Edwards, he's only 16%. So like,
I know that is crazy.
I mean, if you telling me on a slate like this, we're gonna get 2 guys that you and I are very high on going for like maybe 50 plus fantasy points tonight at under 20%. Like there's some leverage for us there because we're all sort of playing the same value, right? We're all kind of in the chalky value. But if we're now being different with like our spend ups and guys that we think are in great spots, like that feels like a win here. So I guess we'll find out at 10:30 where we're sitting. But at least for then, we're feeling pretty good about it. Where else are you looking when it comes to small forward tonight once we kind of move down into the 6K and under range?
Nothing really in the 6K tier, truthfully. You can get to Royce O'Neal. He's going to start. I think it's the Spurs guys, Sohan, Keldon Johnson. Those would be the next 2 names I really get to.
Yep.
So Sohan's been good lately. 29 fantasy points or more in 3 straight games. You alluded to it with Devin Vassell, but the minutes are there for basically everyone Spurs related right now. 32, 34, 34. That's something that's definitely been kind of up and down with Sohan, and definitely been up and down with Keldon after getting benched.
After Keldon played 4 minutes, he's played 34, 31, 27, 34. So
and he's scoring. I mean, other than the OKC game, he's been really, really good scoring the basketball, and a guy with a 25% usage rate and averages over a fantasy point per minute without Victor Wembanyama. I mean, dude, he was a 7K player without Wemby last year. Like, I know I've said that a couple times. It's just too cheap. And that's just something that I'm willing to, live by the sword, die by the sword.
Yeah.
If you can get Keldon Johnson sans Wemby under 5K, why would you not take that opportunity? Like, he's not going to start. Obviously, like Justin Champagnie is just going to start, and that is what it is. But if he's going to approach 34 minutes, then you got to look there.
Kyle Anderson, second highest rostered player on the slate tonight. You in or you out?
He's going to start. I'm in. I'm in. He's been pretty good. Like when you look at all the times he's kind of been extended, it's like basically 22 plus fantasy points every game that he's gotten 28 plus minutes, which, in theory, 22 fantasy points on 20 minutes isn't great, but I'm just saying every time he's been extended that much, he's been fine. He's been very serviceable. I think there's a case to be made for Anderson. I think there's a case to pivot to Jaden McDaniels, just given he's going to be asked to guard Siakam, probably Halliburton, right? There is a randomness to Jaden McDaniels, like in terms of ceilings that he shows every so often. But we just saw the minute ceiling the other day against the Kings, where he played 45 minutes and he played 30 plus in 3 of the last 4 games.
Available.
That's early. I feel pretty good about that, right? Like that's an hour and a half before lock. I feel like if there was an issue, it would have been a game time decision.
If he's not starting, does that put any hesitation for you?
Possibly. I mean, I think we talked about it before we knew about the illness. We said I think it's Lonnie or Jalen Wilson. That would be my personal opinion on like the starting spot, because we've seen Jalen Wilson start this year. We haven't. Lonnie Walker's, I think, just come off the bench. I'm not sure if he started a single game this year. He maybe had earlier.
I think he started maybe one. I'll check right now, but
yeah, I'd be okay getting the Lonnie because we got the news so early.
okay. 0 games started. You are correct. 0
Yeah,
games.
and we've seen Jalen Wilson start, so it wouldn't be surprising if that's the direction they go. I wouldn't shy away from Lonnie in that instance.
Coach Chris wants to know if you had to pick one for util, Zach Collins or Kyle Anderson, same price on DraftKings here.
Well, because you're asking util, I would say just default Collins because it's a 10 p.m. game and you don't want to. Other than situations like last night where like Jared Allen and Goga Batadze, just basically your hand was forced where, well, shoot, now I have a center and I have a 7:30 lock in my util spot, right? Because that's what a lot of people pivoted to when both guys were 60% plus. So I would say Collins would be the direction I'd go. Yeah, just Collins.
We talk all the time with Kyle Anderson. I just don't think the ceiling. I mean, I know he's had ceiling games, but I don't know. Like we're playing so much other value. Like I feel like I'd want to try to find someone that I think has a higher ceiling than Anderson. Anderson's good for cash games if you want to go in that route, but I don't know. Do you think he has? I know it's the Pacers. I don't know.
He did it against your Celtics in the game. In that game he started. Look, I don't disagree with what you're saying. There's obviously I think it's different, John, when it's Towns out versus Gobert.
Sure.
Because the shot volume is different between the two. Gobert doesn't get a usage bump, right? Like we know that. Jaden McDaniels doesn't get a usage bump. Is Kyle Anderson immediately the second best scorer on
Mike Conley?
Yeah, but Mike Conley can be. Do you want he doesn't care to be.
Do they just play NAW, Naz Reid? I mean, I don't know.
Look, Naz Reid is their second best offensive player, sans Towns, undoubtedly. I'm just saying, like, I think that there's a strong case to get to Kyle Anderson. I also think there's a strong case of what you're saying. You fade Kyle Anderson, right? Like, it's just, it's one of those things where you're not wrong. He does have a low shot floor. He's also one of those, like, low shot floor, but does really well everywhere else, right? Like it's not like a Tony Snell situation where Tony Snell just run up and down the floor having a good time. Kyle Anderson's out there boarding, playmaking,
block steals. He got everything. I agree. All right, let's move on over to power forward here.
Well, Jalen Wilson, 3,400. I know he's small forward, power forward. If he starts,
he's power forward only at FanDuel. I told you that earlier today. Kind of broke my soul there. We'll see. Whoever starts, I guess we'll have to figure it out. Durant 97, great price tag, great matchup. Love it. Good spot for him. Took a bajillion shots the other day. It's all about where you're spending your money today. I love Durant. If I'm multi-lineupping, I'm definitely getting some exposure. Building one lineup, I did not get to him here today because of where some of the value is again on this slate and where we're looking to spend up. But Durant certainly in play for me. RJ Barrett certainly in play as we've discussed here. Olynyk, $6,800, a guy that has that dual positional eligibility that I know a lot of people are probably going to be looking to as well. What about you for your top power forwards?
It's Durant in the clinic for me. I don't have much. I haven't dabbled with RJ at 83. I'm going to let the field take that one in an 11-point spread on the road. I don't know if they have the horses really. And like I think Kelly Olynyk's presence hurts Barrett more than like a Jakob Poeltl would because of Olynyk's playmaking ability. I mean, we saw Olynyk with 7 assists last game. That's not a fluke. Kelly Olynyk just does that. Like he's one of those rare 7-footers that can take you off the bounce. So like not a lot of interest in DeRozan. Durant for sure. I don't think we're going to get the type of shot volume we got last game, but I think Durant could like flirt with a triple-double here. Definitely interested in Olynyk. Too cheap, 6,800.
I mean, we saw the ceiling. He's getting 15% ownership here today. So at least for now, again, we got to get the latest updates as it comes through. As of this afternoon, he's getting in that range. Could obviously adjust. Actually, just now came through the latest update. So we'll have that for everybody on site after the stream. But yeah, so see if anything drastic has changed here. Not really. Nothing crazy has changed. Fox 25% in that range.
I think that was kind of similar. I think that was like kind of what it was. I don't know how a fly got in here. I've had the windows open all day. It's been beautiful down here.
Yeah, no surprises. Colin's still your top guy. Anderson number 2. So
Luca holding firm at 18% rostership tonight.
Yep.
There are people making a decision mid-tier versus Luca.
They are for sure. So where was Olenek? Olenek still up there. He was like 15% in the first run.
The clinic is 10.
10. All right. So Olenek dropped from 15 to 10% here. So something at least to note. And again, we'll get those updates out to everybody shortly. Other guys in the mid tier for you a power forward? Naz Reid, $5,400, I imagine.
Yeah, Naz Reid. Naz Reid, PJ Washington. I mean, Naz Reid gets extended, somewhere between probably 26 to like 32, 33 minutes. I don't think we're going to see like 36-minute game that we got, the game that Kyle Anderson got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But that 3-game stretch where he was extended, I mean, 36, 35, 33 fantasy points. It's always interesting to see the discrepancy of ownership between Kyle Anderson and Naz Reid on these slates.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, Naz Reid is an elite fantasy player when he gets the opportunity. So I think Naz Reid is definitely a pivot off Kyle Anderson. For sure. He's just obviously $1,100 more expensive.
Yeah. Dorian Finney-Smith, 5K. 8 of 11 shots, 31 minutes. We know he has to play minutes today.
Yes. And he's doing that with Kevin Ollie. Like versus Jack Vaughn, where it was very up and down. He's been just getting consistent run with Kevin Ollie.
100%. We talked obviously Keldon. Where are you at Isaiah Stewart? I mean, he's been getting some big minutes here.
Dude, he was actually a late add to my player grid today. As I was filling it out, I was like, wait, he's 5,300 on FanDuel and he's 4,900 on DraftKings in like a really good environment. They play Isaiah Stewart big minutes in games where, like, even in situations where it hasn't really been double big, they've just been running him out there. Good luck, Isaiah. He can space the floor a little bit. He's a good rebounder, decent passer, decent defensively. So I'm okay with it. Like now, like, are you playing Isaiah Stewart over Kyle Anderson on this slate? That's probably like a lot of that's probably where a lot of people feel like, I'm going to play Isaiah Stewart or I'm going to play Kyle Anderson instead. But I like him. I think he's fine. I think there's a lot of similar looking plays at this 4K tier. Like Isaiah Stewart, Kyle Anderson, Simone Fontecchio, Nikola Jovic. Like all kind of like
here asking about Jovic as the last man in here.
Like, yeah, I mean, oh shoot, sorry, I didn't click that. Yeah, I'm okay. I didn't mean to. I don't know what I was just doing. I just was like, nah, get out of here.
JT said Kyle Anderson sucks. I kind of agree with you, JT. I'm not gonna lie.
He doesn't suck. He's just what he is, right? Like he's also 4,300 and he's probably going to approach 30 minutes and he does a lot of things on the floor. Like,
sure.
I would say, I mean, this is obviously Jovic Fontecchio. That's obviously a pivot off Kyle Anderson because
what if Jordan Nwora starts tonight?
That would obviously be a wrinkle because he's a 1.1 fantasy point per minute player with Toronto this year. 1.1 has like 30 actual in a game, or 20 something, whatever it was. So like we've seen him start, obviously, recently. Mm-hmm. He played 14 minutes. They weren't this depleted, but if Agbaji sat, there is a strong possibility Jordan Nwora starts.
Yeah. It'd be him or Grady Dick, you would think, right? Like,
yes, I think those are the last two options because they pretend like Chris Boucher doesn't exist, right. So he's not on their roster. They did sign Muhammad Gaye to like the 2-way deal, so like he's there, but again, probably more of like a I'm going to pretend like you're not there. Jonte Porter is once again like their backup center. He's overthrown Chris Boucher. And so, like,
if you have
yeah,
a pulse, you overthrow Chris Boucher.
that's
on
fair.
that
That's a
roster,
that's a fair. Also, just a random part, like Jalen McDaniels is questionable tonight for Toronto, John, which obviously doesn't matter. Like, grand scheme of things doesn't matter. Jordan Nwora might have to play like low 20s minutes no matter what situation. So, you know, I would say I'd rank him over both the other guys if he starts. Is that a crazy thought? Over Jovic, over Fontecchio? I mean,
I don't know. Pablo wants to know Royce O'Neal or Kyle Anderson here.
that's got to be a FanDuel question. They're much closer in FanDuel.
Yeah.
I would say I really like the matchup for O'Neal. I don't hate the price on FanDuel either. I'll go.
My problem with it's not a problem with O'Neal. I guess technically Anderson's in the same situation.
They're fourth fiddles.
In Gobert and Nurkic just grab every rebound that's available to them. So like,
I mean, but even in like 3 games ago, O'Neal had 5 rebounds last game. Splitting hairs. We're
had 31. So like,
we are splitting hairs. I will go on FanDuel. I will go Royce O'Neal. On DraftKings, I'll go Kyle Anderson.
Okay. Did we answer the Jovic question though for him? Last man in, Jovic or Fontecchio?
I'll go Jovic.
You got to see if Jovic is starting, right?
He will be.
Okay.
I'm fairly confident. No love, no hero. That he's going to continue to start. That's just what they've done. No love, no hero. Now no Richardson. Like that's they've just continued to start him. Like as long as he's starting, I would say it's a pretty good matchup for him to like be extended because Dallas is playing PJ Washington at the 4, and like they could just. Also, they play Kleba at the 4. Like that, there's a bigger, there's some bigger bodies that, and every time they do go face an opponent with like 2 bigs, Jovic gets extended. So.
Sure. All right, moving on over to the center position. I see Anthony's question in there. We'll talk about it in a second here with Bam in the matchup against Dallas. Nikola Jokic is your top price center. He's 11-4. Went for 63 against Boston, 34, 12, and 9. Sabonis 10-6 against San Antonio with no Wemby. He's got Zach Collins, big foul happy guy. And Sabonis is averaging 57 fantasy points anyways. And then he got the tier below, Bam, Vucevic, Gobert. Talk to me about Jokic and Sabonis if you had to pick between the two. And then we'll talk about, obviously, Bam in this Dallas matchup.
So, like, I don't think anybody in the NBA can stop Jokic. So, like, if you want to get to him, fine. I haven't personally gotten too much Jokic tonight. He made my player grid, didn't make the write-up. Same thing goes for Sabonis, but, like, in a game that De'Aaron Fox scores 44 and Malik Monk had a monster game, Sabonis is like, yeah, well, I'll just grab 20 rebounds and have a triple-double as well. So, like, I mean, like, you could play either of those guys. I would say the discount on Sabonis in a smash matchup would be the route I'd go. In the next tier, like, Anthony, you're not wrong about the matchup against Dallas. But, like, sometimes when you look at things, like, outside of the matchup, like, this latest stretch of Jimmy and this latest stretch of, like, Rozier and Duncan Robinson, like, Bam is just not. They're running the double big with Jovic, who's a good rebounder. Why would we pay $8,400 for him when he's just like not paying it off? I'm not saying he can't. I'm not saying it's a bad spot at all. But like Rudy Gobert, right, for example, is $900 cheaper on DraftKings, and obviously Bam on a typical night has more volume, right? There's no Karl-Anthony Towns. Rudy Gobert is a 1.1 fantasy point per minute guy. And we talked about it last night. The minutes for Rudy Gobert have been amazing. Like just flat out amazing. Basically nightly. Other than the Memphis game, obviously that stunk, but look at the fantasy production in the 5 games either before or after the Memphis game. 38 minutes plus 42 fantasy points plus. And again, like Bam hasn't hit 40 fantasy points in 4 straight games.
Right.
It's a like not saying he can't, but I would rather just take the savings on Gobert, Sands, Towns.
Yeah, and you're getting all the defense stats with
Right.
Gobert here as well. The blocks are legitimate. The rebounding totals are super high for him. So that's like carrying. And then if he gets the scoring, you're getting some of these ceiling scoring games. Again, I have no problem if you want to go out there and try to stack this game, get Luka, get Butler, get Bam, run a 3-man on that, and then get some of the value you've discussed on this slate and go that way. Like totally fine. Bam can certainly go out there and give you 28, 10, and 7 tonight, and you'll be, perfectly happy with it. It's just more recently, there's been these games where, 23 and 7 is a good game, but it's, it is what it is, And I don't think Siakam's gonna abuse Gobert. I mean, that's silly. Gobert's multi-time defensive player of the year. They don't play the same position either. Miles Turner's their center. Siakam's all in the power forward spot anyways.
And like Gobert is also, like you said, multi-time. He's also going to add one tonight, or he's going to add one this year. He's going to add just another tally. Also, just confirming, MD, are you a Boston Celtics fan? Because Jokic, I clicked again.
Trash is a harsh word. Trash is a harsh word, but
this is you 4 years ago.
Well,
you are MD. You are MD 4 years ago.
I was right. No, I'm not. And if you want to fade Luka, man, go for it. We built lineups without Luka, and that's fine. We like a lot of the mid tier, but you can attack Dallas and also play Luka. So totally doable. All right, let's get to the chalk plays here at center because it's just Zach Collins. Where is he? 41. There he is, 43. He is 60% on the slate here tonight. So no Wemby. Everybody's just plugging and playing Zach Collins for value. How confident are you, though, in Zach Collins in this matchup?
So I am pretty confident. 1.13 fantasy points per minute. The only thing I wouldn't be he's a Nuggets fan. So all right, little reverse psychology there. Okay, Jokic trash, Nuggets fan, got it. So like Sabonis is not a good defender. Had a good game against Anthony Davis last night. Salute to him. I think, Sacramento had a good game plan for Anthony Davis in general. Collins at 43 is too cheap in starters minutes. If you're not confident in him, John, I'm pretty confident that Dominic Barlow is your backup center. And, they converted his contract to standard deal, and we haven't seen him play a lot since since 1, Collins came back, and 2, Wemby's been full capacity. Like Barlow's been iced, right, for a month, but he's going to be the backup center. And we saw like he's a really good fantasy point per minute player when he gets extended. So I am very confident in Zach Collins, like being the fantasy point per minute guy that he is this year. Without Wemby, 1.13 fantasy points per minute, 23% usage. You don't really see that many centers in the NBA with a 23% usage rate.
Right.
Unless it's like your creme de la creme center, right? Like your top line center. So I'm pretty confident in the Collins price tag. I think it's just an easy plug and play. There's obviously the caveat though, in a blowout scenario, in a scenario where you just want to get different, or you think Collins is in foul trouble because it's a bonus, then Dominic Barlow. Ooh, what was that? That was a face. Was that a face at news?
Not really. Luka's in. I didn't even really think that Luka had a question of being out. Maxi Kleba also in tonight for Dallas there. So nothing too crazy. Any other centers? I mean, again, we talked to Olynyk a little bit already. We mentioned Gobert in the mid tier as well, and then obviously Collins. Are you playing any other centers on tonight's slate?
I was going to ask you about the Jackson Davis thing, but I feel like it's point chasing, so I don't want to ask you about Jackson Davis anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's point chasing. He only played 19 minutes in that game. He had 2 big blocks on Giannis that went viral, and he hit 7 of 8 shots.
Well, he's back to back good games.
Sure, 22 minutes in a 50-point blowout where he got run.
That's why I like.
And then 19 minutes in the 30-point blowout. So
that's why I was stopping my train of thought.
I mean,
asking that I stopped.
Listen, Anthony. I like the Bulls tonight too. You seemingly like the Bulls every night, Anthony, which is fine. Listen, Kobe White, DeMar DeRozan, Vucevic. I said to play Vucevic last night. Love Vucevic in that spot last night or 2 nights ago, whatever day it was that they were on
last night.
The plate. Yeah, totally fine going there. There nobody's playing them, so you get low rostership on those guys as a tournament play. Just know it's back to back. It's on the road. It's in Golden State, so there's obviously some potential drawbacks to that, but nothing against these guys, and they're all it's tournament pivots, right? We like a guy that's 75. You can play a guy at 83 or 84. Everybody's playing the 4K guy. We like Jimmy Butler. You like DeRozan for a little bit cheaper. Certainly can go there and play that as well. Totally fine.
John, one point. I just want to say one thing.
Yep.
This matters 0% to the slate, but shout out TJ Warren making his debut tonight for Minnesota against the Indiana Pacers. So
can't wait for him to start.
Shout out TJ Warren.
All right, let's build a lineup. Where are we starting things here, sir?
Collins, Butler, Edwards.
Collins.
Keldon.
Butler.
Keldon Johnson.
Edwards. Keldon.
Taj Gibson.
Lonnie.
Lonnie.
All right.
Probably Dennis Schroeder at point guard.
Okay. Pick your value.
Do you want to play Kyle Anderson? You don't, right?
Oh, I play Jovic.
Okay.
9K.
Ooh, that's good.
Halliburton. Fox. Fox on the cover of the show.
Yeah, let's do De'Aaron Fox.
All right. So this is our no Luka lineup. I've built many Luka lineups here today, but this is a fair and balanced build. Schroeder, Edwards, Butler, Johnson, Collins, Walker, Jovic, and Fox. $500 left over, which means you can really do whatever you want with this position. Lonnie can go there. Fox can go there. You get a util at 45. Can make it work however you guys want. Playbook's out and will be updated here, obviously, throughout the day. If you have any questions, find us there. Get us in Discord. Find us on Twitter. We'll be back tomorrow. Good luck, everybody, tonight. We'll talk to you later.